This truly is our cherished homeland, and we deeply love it. This indeed is our homeland, and we resolutely stand for it. We stand firmly for our precious land, but absolutely not for those malevolent ghouls who are so strangely running this country today. Gradually, the invisible restrictions placed upon people involved in the ongoing war, meaning specifically Russia and Ukraine, are increasingly and steadily becoming a significant part of our daily lives. We were, in principle, prepared for them, for all these restrictions, and now, as of recently, Germany has, for the most part, largely closed entry into the country for all Russian citizens and individuals. Visas are not being issued. The consulate in Russia has announced this. Spain, following Germany, is also closing its borders to Russians, and the consulate has also completely stopped accepting all visa applications for any trips to Spain, effective immediately. Moreover, this significant issue is currently being seriously considered at the highest levels of the European Union. And now, the entire European Union collectively desires to implement a ban on Schengen visas for all those departing from Russia. You know, Russia and Ukraine, right? Two countries are at war with each other. One side seems to be the victim, so there shouldn't be any restrictions for them. But now the situation is developing in such a way that some restrictions will also be imposed on Ukraine. The world is approaching a state of war. Poland is on the verge of breaking out into war with Belarus and Russia. But what are Belarus and Russia really? They're China, and the world will break out into war. Now let's take a look at Russia. Russia is shouting loudly, clapping, not even with its hands, no. It's clapping with missiles, drones, with something else. Where does Russia get all this from? I actually doubt that Russia produces anything at all, because all the factories in Russia have shut down, and so have the plants. The Navy? Russia has ruined its entire Navy, starting with the methodical destruction of the Murmansk fleet. The Northern Ocean Fleet was destroyed. Then they started destroying the Black Sea Fleet. Someone crashed into something somewhere. One ship, another, the 10th one. There's almost nothing left, just a few ships. They were taken somewhere else, where they're now just sitting idle. But that's not a navy. Russia doesn't have a navy. We have to admit it. You might say, well, the Northern Fleet is being built, and now representatives of the fleet, well, actually, representatives of Putin, are traveling somewhere to some unknown land. So the Northern Fleet is going somewhere out there. We're producing icebreakers. We are. But is it really us or is it China? So most likely it's actually China that's producing all the essential icebreakers and specialized ships, all the robust ships that are fully capable of sailing in the challenging north, specifically in the vast Arctic Ocean, effectively breaking through the thick ice with their powerful bows. They keep telling us these are Russian ships, but in reality, who owns the companies that build them? We've seen some documents somewhere, we've seen something. They tell us that Russia is so strong. Undoubtedly, the number of people in Russia is much greater. But that's just numbers, just the quantity. There are simply many more people. So Russia can easily overwhelm Ukraine with its sheer numbers and significant military might. And we've seen this before. World War II. During World War II, when the vast and powerful nation of Russia overwhelmingly defeated the enemy with sheer immense numbers, they were just mindlessly sending their brave soldiers straight into the relentless and deadly machine gun fire. They told us stories about the heroics of Alexander Matrosov, but there were no real heroics. Heroics were invented on paper, but in reality they destroyed an entire generation of young people. And I wonder who came to replace that youth afterwards. The youth that followed was quite strong. That youth of the 1940s was strong, born in the 1920s. So these were echoes of the 1920s. There were a lot of mutants who came from the Samara province. This would become a symbol, the flag of Lenin's revolution. Samara province, Saratov, Saratov. Why would this particular situation become a significant flag? Was it indeed Saratov, or was it perhaps Samara? You see, that's how they pulled the wool over our eyes. In other words, they tell lies here, lies there. We have never once heard the truth anywhere. What was happening? The symbol of filth, violence, and sex, that was the revolution. And today we see. And what do we see today? The military entered? What are they doing? Thank God, right now they're just killing each other somewhere out there in the trenches. Well, your children, your boys are dying. But the question is, who is dying? Now they tried to empty the prisons, right? They emptied the prisons. Today, many of them have died at the front. They were sent straight to the slaughter, but not all of them. The leadership, that is the leadership of the organized crime groups, were sent out to the regions, returned to their old places, where they started creating new organized crime groups again. This is for the very situation when now Russian troops will advance toward Poland, toward Finland, and at that time the organized crime groups will flourish. But organized crime groups have never operated on their own. They have always been directed by the military. The NKVD directed the organized crime groups. That is, all the bandits were always controlled by the NKVD, then the KGB, and later the FSB. Nothing has changed. It's the same organization. It has remained. The letters change, but the meaning stays the same. It must be said, at one time a very good organization was conceived. At one time, the creation of the NKVD was based on the right ideas. But if you look at it from the outside, everything seemed right, good ideas, the right course of action. But inside it was terrifying what was happening. Today we have lost our navy, we have lost our army. We don't have an army, we just have cannon fodder that they recruit and throw onto the front lines. Like Alexander Matrosov, they gathered up the youth, children, and sent them straight into the line of fire. That's just meat. That's the kind of cannon fodder there is in Russia. There is no army in Russia. That's the scariest thing happening in our country today. This is our motherland. We love it. This is our motherland. We stand for it. We stand for our land, but not for those ghouls who, strangely, are running the country today. Do you think they're Russians? They're minds? No, they're Chinese. The Chinese are running the country and they don't care. They have their own plan to take over Russia. And that's exactly it. To ruin the country so that no one can rise up against China. Not the soldiers, not the navy. No one would dare to rise up, not a single nuclear submarine, not a single boat. Remember what they did to the Kursk? It sank, as the president said, without batting an eye. Today Russia is left bare, stripped in the middle of the steppe. Go ahead, Chinese, take over other people's homes, other people's women, other people's children.